Illinois Stories is brought to you by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by the support of viewers like you. Thank you.
Hello, welcome to Illinois Stories. I'm Mark McDonald in Camp Point in front of the Bailey House restaurant. As you can see, it was once the Bailey Opera House. During that day, the performers would get off the train right in front of the Bailey Opera House, and they'd walk in and they'd go up to the Opera House, perform, and get on the train and go on to their next stop. Well, a lot of things have changed. In 2005, a local couple bought the Bailey Opera House building and later opened the Bailey House restaurant, and it's been quite a journey for them, including a devastating fire 60 days after they opened. But fortunately, they were able to keep much of the Bailey Opera House intact. Well, Sara Lung, in this venerable old building on State Street in Camp Point, you and your husband Ted have really brought this place back to life. But you had to change it too in order to do that, didn't you? Because yes, when we looked at it from the outside, if we look at this part of the building and you walked in a door that's no longer here, but there would have been a door here which would have taken you right up the steps,
yes,
to the Opera House.
Yes. This was the entrance door, and then the stairway that came upstairs this wall was completely enclosed.
Oh, so there was a wall here.
Yes.
Okay, so you wouldn't even, if you were in the rest of the building, you wouldn't even know that people were walking up to the Opera House.
No, you would have walked right upstairs and wouldn't have realized that there was a business next door.
Now, you and your husband have owned this for several years.
2005 is when we purchased it.
What kind of condition was it in then?
It was, it just hadn't had anything in it for a little while, and so we came in and worked some magic on it.
It was probably really dusty. I would assume that these brick walls had plaster on them.
They did have the old
They're
plaster.
Beautiful now. Yeah.
They came in and
that's
took that
dusty
off.
hard work, isn't it? Getting rid of that stuff.
It off.
Yeah, sandblasted off.
And the original tin ceiling were there, and they were in beautiful condition. So
now that's not what we're looking at now. You had to replace it, and we're going to tell that story later in the program. But the tin ceiling looks beautiful now, but it's not original, is it?
Correct.
Yeah.
It was after the fire we replaced it.
We're going to talk about that fire because that was devastating to you guys, wasn't it?
Yes.
Man, because your restaurant had been opened for how long?
We opened in August of 2012. 60 days later in October, we had the fire.
Oh,
So we had to totally start over, gut it, completely repair everything. And it burned into the second floor, so therefore we had to replace everything upstairs too.
And it caused you to move your kitchen. It was a kitchen fire. It caused you to move the kitchen, which turned out to be probably beneficial to you, but it was really hard to do, wasn't it?
It was heartbreaking because we'd only been open 60 days and we were up and running and everything was going well. But
let's take a walk through. This, is this called your main dining room? Is that what you call this area?
Yes.
Okay. It's very attractive.
Thank you.
And but when you came in here now, these rooms were not joined. You had to break through here to join these rooms.
We had an engineer come in and make sure that it was safe to do so, and went ahead and cut the hole in the wall. And then we had a local carpenter did a beautiful job on this. So that enabled us to flow from one room to the other without having to use an exterior door.
Yeah, you could really accommodate a lot of people in here. Now, this would have been, in the olden days, when the Opera House was upstairs, this would have been a separate business. This would have been a different space.
This was Reed Drug Store.
Reed Drug Store?
Yes.
Okay.
So that way we have, two sections now. So.
And once again, I'm stuck on these ceilings. I always love floors and ceilings. This ceiling was, again, you had to replace this. This was not the original
ceiling. Before the fire, it was the original tin ceiling, and then once we had the fire, we had to take them down in order to clean them, and we weren't able to. Some of them ripped, and we had to come back with new. But we came back to something that was the closest to the original that we could find.
They nailed them up, didn't they?
They did.
So in order to get them off, they just rip, don't they?
Exactly.
Tin just rips.
They worked so hard and so carefully to try to salvage any that we could, but we were able to salvage some, but just not enough. So.
Okay, so this was Reed Drug Store. And I love this too because you tell the stories about Camp Point as if you're dining in here, you get to learn all there is to know about Camp Point through the years.
All Camp Point history.
And now this would have been yet a third shop of some kind that was not adjoined. You cut the hole in the wall again.
We did. Recently it was a plumbing and heating business, but I learned that many years ago it was Taylor Farm Supply or Taylor Grain and Fuel.
Aha.
And so we wanted, there again, we wanted to have access from one room to the other, had the engineer come in, give us the green light, cut the hole in the wall, and so now this is a separate private meeting room for family reunions or rehearsal dinners or a variety of things. We flow over into this room on Sundays or weekends when we're super busy.
Or like you say, if you want Christmas parties or a banquet room, you know, space,
right.
a wedding reception,
business
that
meetings.
kind of thing, you could
Sure.
do that here. And the upstairs too, you're able to use some of that space too
Yes.
to expand your business when you need
Yes,
to.
we did go ahead and remodel the second floor as well. So
This is really beautiful. Now during this program, we're going to talk about a number of things. You are a Camp Point historian. In fact, your family goes way back to the beginning of Camp Point.
Yes.
So we're going to learn a little about that. We're going to learn about the Chautauqua, which was a big deal in Camp Point for maybe 20 years or so. And you've got, this is the Chautauqua room, so we'll walk through here and we'll look at some of the old programs and some of the old pictures from the Chautauqua. And we're going to talk and show that devastating fire and how you all had to deal with that. But the next thing we're going to do is go up to look at the Opera House, because you have been able to preserve that. In fact, is the original stage still there?
it is. The original stage is there. However, when we had the fire, we did have to rebuild it, but we rebuilt it exactly the same size as it was originally.
It's in the same place it was,
Yes,
huh?
yes.
Doggone. That's terrific. Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Well, Ted, in the old days, when this was an opera house, we would have just walked up the original set of stairs, right?
Correct.
They're not there anymore, and we
Nope.
described that already.
That's right.
But this is where we would have entered the opera house, and this is about exactly the same size as it would have been, right? You made some changes.
Yeah, it's the exact same footprint. The Opera House is about 80 feet long and about 60 feet wide.
And you now use it for a modern office. What you do presentations, I assume. It looks like you're ready for a classroom.
Yes, AgriLogic Insurance Service is one of 17 crop insurance providers, and they lease this facility from us. So we train agents and employees from all over the U.S. right here.
No kidding. They all come to Camp Point.
Yes.
To learn from you. Do you do the presentations?
No, we have a national trainer that does most of the presentations. But this is more of a regional training center.
And in the day, of course, the seating would have been facing the stage. It would have been facing that direction. It would have been facing the stage. And, you know, we described this fire that you and Sarah had.
Yes.
And it came up over here.
Yes.
I assume that I'm standing over where the kitchen was, right?
Yes.
So the stage, the original stage, got all burned up.
Yeah, where you're standing is about an 8-foot hole where the flames come through. And the firemen, when they put out the fire, just caused a lot of smoke, or caused a lot of water damage and things like that. But also the flames actually crawled their way under the stage, and the whole stage was engulfed in flames too. So this whole wall was cut out so the water, so the fire could be put out.
Oh man. Okay, so you ended up really, you had no stage left at all.
No. We had to tear it down and completely rebuild it.
And why did you do that?
Well, we just wanted to preserve the historic integrity of the Bailey Opera House, and we just didn't want that to go away.
Yeah. There were some other things you restored. Can we go up there?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. So the dimensions of the stage, the height of the stage, everything is just as it was.
Yes.
And I'm assuming that this proscenium, I guess that's the right term, but this area, this stage opening here, is the same as it was too.
This is the original curtain opening, so the curtain would come up, the audience would applaud, and the actors would do their plays or their singing.
And this is where it went on for all those many years.
Yeah.
And they still have a stage to do it. If we could get them back, right?
Yes,
if we could just get them back.
Lots of choirs, concerts, high school presentations. A lot of times the train would come through town, and the actors would get off the train and come up and do their plays, get on the train and go to the next town with an opera house.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe vaudeville visitors too, huh?
Yes.
Unfortunately, the curtain did not survive the fire. But you saved some of it.
Yes. Yeah, we saved the B for Thomas Bailey. So that is the original curtain that actually hung here prior to the fire.
Oh, It's just terrific that you're able to save even that little bit of it, but it's so sad that,
Yes.
I mean, you went to all the trouble to save the entire curtain through all these years, and then some freaky fire just takes it, huh?
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's nice, though. That's invaluable that you're able to save the bee. At least you got that part of it.
Yes. And we'll frame it and put it on the wall.
Yeah, yeah.
So, original 10 ceilings.
I'm looking at it now. Did you paint them white, or had they always been white?
They've always been white.
Really? And the fire didn't destroy those?
No.
It got the ones downstairs.
Mm-hmm. Up here was a little bit of smoke, but we re-sandblasted off all the paint and sealed it.
This is terrific. This is terrific. Thanks for showing us around up here. I'm glad that you have found a really practical use for this. I didn't know what I'd find up here, whether it'd be kind of spider webby or what it'd be, but I mean, you have, this is state of the art. This is a beautiful facility.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you very much.
And good for you for preserving what you could.
Yes. Appreciate you coming.
Yeah, thank you. Well, Sarah, you could look, when you look at the old days at the Bailey House, it wasn't called the Bailey House then, but you've come a long way. It's changed a lot, hasn't it?
Yes.
Really terrific. You've done, and of course the horse and carriage. So that kind of tells you what era that is. That would have been turn of the century, I guess.
That was late 1800s when that picture was taken. It was built in 1893.
We're standing at the site of the, I don't want to call it crime because it wasn't arson, but this is where the fire occurred.
It was.
We're in what was the kitchen at the time, right?
Yes.
What was it like when you got that phone call?
It was.
You'd been open 60 days. You'd spent years getting this place up and running, and then you get a phone call that.
Oh, I know. Shock. What a shock. My husband was out of town, so I came up here. Just couldn't believe it. I mean, smoke coming out, fire trucks. Thank goodness there were fire trucks from all around the area that came and were just wonderful. It could have been so much worse, but they contained it so well, but just devastating.
It's hard to believe that you were able to really recover from that, because when you look down here at some of these photographs that you have, and let's start at the top here. Here's one of the guys, maybe a fireman, or maybe just some helper wandering around, but you can see that he doesn't even know where to start. You know,
and of course this was after it was all put out, you know.
Right. Yeah, this is the aftermath of the fire. And here's the kitchen. Here's a good shot of the kitchen right here. And you can see the stainless steel survived, but nothing else did.
Oh, it was just horrible.
Over here too. Oh, what a horrible, gruesome mess.
Oh, devastating.
And here's another picture of that same guy, sort of trying to figure out, is there anything to salvage? You know, is there anything worth saving here?
Right. It started in this area, and then it burned.
It started in this area, and it was an electrical outlet. Is that what happened?
It was a defective outlet.
And here's what your original ceiling looked like. The tin ceiling looked like.
It just made it look orange.
And so there was a lot of soot and water, of course, trapped up in there. So when you took those down, they ripped, and you just had to figure out what else you could do. Wow, it's just horrendous.
Right.
Although some good came out of it, because what you ended up doing is you reshaped your restaurant. This was no longer the kitchen. You took what was part of the seating area and built a new kitchen, which it gives you a lot more space, doesn't it?
It does.
Can we go in there? Wow, see, this is a lot bigger. And if you, when business is good, you need a lot of kitchen, don't you?
Right. It's been wonderful to have the extra space. It's amazing what a few extra feet will do.
Well, you got, you know, if you don't have any more fires.
Oh no, we don't even want to hear that word. No, no, no.
And speaking of which, you know, you did the all new electricity when you opened the first time.
We did.
And then you ended up having to do it all over again.
We did. We put in all new wiring, all new light fixtures, and just started from scratch. It was just totally gutted it, you know, down to the bare everything, and started over.
I mentioned earlier in the program that your family was one of the founding families of Camp Point. So let's go into the room where you tell some of that story.
Okay.
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 Sarah, in 1893, when the Bailey Opera House opened, they had, of course, a formal program. It was a big deal, and I'm sure everybody in Adams County showed up for it.
Yes.
But you had the distinction of having one of your ancestors as the vocal soloist on the opening program.
Yes, I found it so fun when I found the original program over at the library at the Heritage Room. And lo and behold, there was Miss Florence Minor She later married Fred Farlow, which those are my great-grandparents, Fred and Florence.
Okay, so Florence was, well, she's very young here, Miss Florence. She's probably 18. She looks like she's about 18.
Right, that was before she was married.
Her vocal solo was "Tears, Idle Tears."
Yes.
We gotta learn that song.
I know,
we?
I'd love to hear it. I would. So.
Don't you wish you could? They had recordings back then.
I do.
Wouldn't that be
That
wonderful
would
to
have been
have her
so
singing
fun.
that?
Yes, and as you can see, there was a whole variety of instrumentalists, vocalists.
Oh yeah, part one and
Duets.
part two. And the dedicatory address was Thomas Bailey,
Yes.
and we're going to hear more about him. Of
Yes.
course, he built the Opera House. That's
He
why he
did.
named it after himself.
Yes.
You mentioned to me, and you've been quite a Camp Point historian, that there were 4 real founding fathers of Camp Point. And I think we're going to start with this one first because you're a
Okay.
Farlow, right?
I am. That's my married name.
And
Yes.
this is
Or
William
did I say
Farlow's
maiden
home.
name?
Maiden name, yeah. This is William Farlow's home. Tell me about him, a little bit about him.
Well, William Farlow was one of the 4 that founded Camp Point. He came from North Carolina in 1843 with his wife, their children. They came on a covered wagon all the way from North Carolina and settled in this area in 1843. And of course, Camp Point was started in 1855. This home was built. Previous to this home, they built a log cabin. And then a little ways north of there, they decided to build this home.
This is a very fine home. This was before photographs, of course. And
Yes.
unfortunately, it's no longer there.
It's no longer there. It was torn down some years ago.
This one up here is still there, though. This is the Peter Garrett house.
Yes.
He was one of the founding fathers. He moved here in 1835, even before the Farlows did.
Right.
And this home is still here. In fact, it's probably the oldest home in Camp Point.
It
don't you
is.
think?
It's
Yeah.
the oldest home in Camp Point, and now my brother and sister-in-law live there. Prior to them, my grandparents lived there.
Is that right?
Yes.
Well, you do have roots here. That's amazing, isn't it? Okay, and that's a huge family. I'm not sure
It
which
is,
is that the
yes.
Garrett family.
That
I
is the
assume.
Garrett family.
Let's walk over to see the other 2 founding fathers here. We had a Bailey, of course. We're going to see Bailey, but
Yes.
Booth was one of them. And
Yes.
I love the way you do this. Each one of your booths here. This is the booth.
Exactly.
Each one of your booths here has some historic feature to it. It's
Yes,
really
they're
cool.
all Camp Point pictures. Every single photo in here is from Camp Point. This is a store that was called Reverend Booth's Store, located on Jefferson Street. And anyway, one of the founding fathers' names was Benjamin Booth.
And he was a reverend, apparently.
No, actually, the Booth store was not owned by Benjamin. It was another relative.
Oh, okay, all right. And of course, Thomas Bailey, who we keep hearing about because not only is this the Bailey House, the Opera House, but Bailey Park, which is still the large public park in town, is
Right.
named after him. So he must have been quite a mover and shaker.
He was, yes. Evidently, he came from Maine and lived in Camp Point, built the Opera House. He ended up deeding over the property to Bailey Park to the town trustees.
And we don't know if that's Mr. Bailey or not, but we do have a picture of him here.
Yes,
right
in his
front
later
of us.
years, yes.
There's Thomas George Bailey. And the park that he deeded to the city is used for all kinds of things, but one of the historical aspects of the park was that's where the Chautauqua
Yes.
took place and did successfully for many years, didn't it?
Yes, the first Chautauqua, actually before the Chautauqua, it was used for the Adams County Fair. So
Is that right?
Yes, in the 1800s, it was actually the Adams County Fair. And I actually have a poster in there too. But after that, they started to hold the Camp Point Chautauqua there. The first one was in 1907, and the last one was I believe, early 1930s.
You dedicate an entire room in this restaurant to the Chautauqua. It's called the
did.
Chautauqua Room, isn't
Yes.
it? Let's go take a look.
Okay.
Okay, Sarah, in the Chautauqua Room, you tell the Chautauqua history
Yes.
in Camp Point, and starting in 1907, and for many summers, more than 20 summers after that, every summer they had a Chautauqua here, and it would draw
Yes.
people from all over, wouldn't it?
Oh, it would. They said literally thousands of people came to Camp Point. and came for Chautauqua. Started in 1907 here in Camp Point. Went to the early 1930s, and just brought in huge crowds for musical, groups and
big
plays
speakers.
and
Oh,
speakers.
motivational speakers
Yes.
and reverends and
Yes.
politicians.
Billy
and,
Sunday.
Yeah. Oh, big time.
William Jennings Bryan.
This would be the amphitheater that all those folks performed and spoke in right here. And
Yes.
isn't it interesting that so many small towns had these
Yes,
venues?
yes.
And they're all gone now.
I
They're all
know.
gone.
2 floors and
Yeah. Now this is interesting. We keep talking about your family, but your roots do go way back. This is, of course, it's August. It's about 100 degrees
Exactly.
in Camp Point, right? And all these
Yes.
ladies are in white.
I
but
know.
look how
They just
crisp
look so-
and well dressed everybody looks.
They do.
For August. And who's this back here? Who's this
that
one?
would be my Grandma Farlow. Yes.
No, that's not the one we heard. We knew sang. At
No,
the
the
opera
the one that sang Florence Minor would be my great grandmother, and this is my grandmother. So
Okay. And
May
she
Farlow.
was born in 1900, so she's
Yes.
about 12. About 12.
Right,
she looks like,
and you can
right?
see all the tents that you could rent behind, tents and cots and tables and chairs.
Here, those tents are neat. And we talked about performances. Grossman's Philharmonic Orchestra.
Yes.
This is a sample of the type of music that would come.
Right.
Almost all classically oriented stuff, because that's
Very
what people
talented.
were listening to. That was the pop music of the day. They hadn't
Yes.
gone yet into jazz or anything yet. It was still
Right.
classical stuff.
Orchestral type.
And a lot of these orchestras were big, and we're going to see
Right.
some of those. This is a really good look at the community. This is what Bailey Park looked like. You
Right.
could rent a tent, couldn't you?
You could for one night or the whole entire week. And you could rent a tent, a cot, a table, a chair. They served 3 meals a day in the dining hall with fresh tablecloths and fresh flowers. So it
Oh,
was
that's terrific. And look, not everybody had cars. I mean, there are a lot of cars, but a lot of folks are still in horse and buggy.
And the interesting thing about this photo is it was actually a postcard. And so they would make postcards and send it to their friends in other cities.
This is
like
what we're
missed
doing.
you,
This
you
is what
know.
we're doing,
So I
yeah.
took a picture of that.
Wish you were here. Here's the Italian quartet with Sarah Leibovitz as the vocalist.
Right.
Here's one from 1918. And you can see it's a big band.
That would have been actually the cover of the program. So this photograph itself is not Camp Point. It was taken from another Chautauqua. However, it was the front cover of the Camp Point Chautauqua.
I see. Okay, and we have another picture of your grandmother here.
Right.
And I'm going to sneak in here
Okay.
so I can point her
Yes.
out. She's a little older here. This is her
Right.
back here, right?
Right, we're thinking
She's-
she was about 18 in that
Okay,
picture.
so that would be 1918.
Yes.
And they're all joined. I mean, they're watching a ball game or something. Who
Right.
knows what they're looking at? But they're not in the amphitheater. They're outdoors there. I love this one because this one looks so gracious and great. I mean, look
All
how
the
everybody.
pretty
It looks like a
trees.
French painting the way they're all
does.
sort of just
So
sauntering
pretty.
along. I like this though because it shows that if you didn't want to walk all the way through the park, there was a taxi service.
Yes.
An
That would take
automobile
you.
taxi service that could take you around the
Take
park.
you over to the amphitheater.
If you just had if you had more than $3.50 to spend, you could
Right.
afford that. And there was always a ball game, wasn't there?
Yes, in the afternoons they had ball games, auto shows.
Look at the way the men are dressed. Hats, coats, ties. They must have been broiling.
Right, and in the hot summer.
Yeah. And this is 1918. We talked about how some of these orchestras were so big. Look at this Innis band,
I
the
guess it
orchestral
was-
band.
It was quite a coup to get them to Camp Point because they were from New York and they were known as the greatest Chautauqua band in America.
Can you imagine hauling a harp?
I
All
can't
over the
imagine. No, and they would just travel the circuit from the East Coast to the West.
They must have had their own train car, you know.
You would think.
And if Camp Point wasn't on the railroad, you wouldn't have gotten them.
That's right.
Oh, and I like this too. This shows a really neat. There goes a siren. You don't hear that in Camp Point very often.
It's the
do you?
12 o'clock noon whistle.
Oh, okay.
It happens
All right.
every day, so
Every
don't be
day.
alarmed.
You can see this is how you lived in the park during Chautauqua, and I guess you
Right.
could stay for a week or so.
A
and
day, a week, yeah, 9 days,
that's really nice. In addition to the Bailey House restaurant and the crop insurance business, the Lung's newest enterprise is the Commerce Center of Camp Point, right next door to their existing building. This will be office space for micro businesses in Camp Point. With another Illinois story in Camp Point, I'm Mark McDonald. Thanks for watching.
Illinois Stories is brought to you by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by the support of viewers like you. Thank you. For a DVD copy of the program you've just seen, send $19.95 to Network Knowledge, P.O. Box 6248, Springfield, Illinois 62708. Be sure to include the program name, subject, and when the program aired. You can also order with your credit card by calling 800-232-3605.